One of the unique things about starting a Formula E car is you hear this tension music building inside the cockpit. There's no roar of engines, but there is the rush of blood pumping in your temples. Away we go, the Berlin E-Prix is underway, and the pole position man, Felix Rosenqvist, heads the charge in the red and white Mahindra. The Berg and Lopez twosome, again the purple DS Virgin cars, wheel to wheel.
Buemi is slow through turn 1 there and allowed Felix Rosenqvist to just take off. And look at a concertina as they go into turn 3. There'll be some damage there.
There's your race leader, Buemi in second, then Bird and Lopez third and fourth. They're still 2 by 2 and damage.
And they're 3 wide.
Yeah. Well, the Andretti's went 3 wide around somebody into turn 2.
One of the Andretti cars is missing its front wing.
That's not necessarily a major handicap. This is not an aero-dependent championship.
Oh, more contact. Maro Engel.
Well, this has all the looks of today's E-race on the electric racing simulators. So much contact in lap 1.
Settling down a bit into 9, Nico Prost going defensive, or was he looking at a pass from Daniel Abt?
Yeah, I think he was trying to defend against the Jaguar I-Type behind him. That will have been Mitch Evans. So Sébastien Buemi already, Dario, trying to protect battery and tyre temperature?
I would hope so, otherwise Felix Rosenqvist has an incredible advantage on pure pace. He's gone.
What happened yesterday to that blue Renault E-Dams cars? It started in the cool of the morning in first free practice fastest.
Here's a move from Heidfeld, sorry.
Ended up dead slow. Yeah, Heidfeld up 3 or 4 spots already in that red and white Mahindra, and he goes by Adam Carroll. So Rosenqvist leading the race. Sébastien Buemi now 2 seconds behind. Is Rosenqvist bolting for the hills too early? Is Buemi in trouble into the Venturi garage?
I have to correct myself, there is no damage on the front wings of the Andretti. It was an optical illusion. I probably should have waited till I had a clear read of that.
Might have been the rear of Maro Engel's car that was spitting off some damage. Remember, Sébastien Buemi in the first couple of laps yesterday had the rear of somebody's car attached to his front wing. That then blew off. There are the Andretti's.
Just look how laid down the rear wings are, Martin. I was going down the pit lane judging everybody's downforce levels, and most are a similar angle, but they're very much more laid back than qualifying. They're trying to be more efficient through the air. They're gaining straight line speed, gaining efficiency, but losing braking and corner grip.
We say so often you're likely to be closest to your own teammate. Look at the 2 red, green and yellow Abt Schaeffler cars. Daniel Abt in 8th, Lucas de Grassi in 7th. We've got Bird and Lopez 3rd and 4th, close to their own teammates. We've got the 2 Andretti cars, nose to tail.
Does that show how difficult this track is and the fact that some teams are figuring it out more than others? Just on that note, Buemi has, I think, closed the gap, really closed the gap on Felix Rosenqvist.
Yeah, he found 8/10 of a second with the fastest race lap on lap 2 as they whistle then through the tunnel at the E-Motion VIP enclosure.
In the commentary booth here, we can hear those advertising hoardings vibrating as the cars go past. A little lock-up from Mitch Evans in the Jaguar.
And Mitch Evans still inside the top 10. So it's Rosenqvist, and then this huge train, Buemi, Lopez and Bird, the 2 purple and red DS Virgins, then Jorinek Ver in the black and gold, Oliver Turvey with the turquoise highlights, then the 2 green and gold cars, de Grassi and Abt, that's 7th and 8th, Nico Prost in 9th spot ahead of Mitch Evans in the Jaguar.
The big mover in the early laps of this race has to be Nick Heidfeld from 20th to 15th in the first 3 laps.
All right, that's 5 spots at the start. I'm getting my wallet out, ready to buy him beers, because that is a great start.
Especially at such tight a field, that's really getting it done. On board with Jose Maria Lopez here, with teammate Sam Bird in close attendance behind.
Yeah, Bird spent a lot of time yesterday bottled up behind Pachito, made a couple of rather frustrated stabs to get by, and then lost out with a slower pit stop.
I wonder how much you can actually draft your teammate and save some energy. I think with the aerodynamic rules in Formula E, I'm not sure it'll be that much. You can hear him lifting and coasting, and then the regeneration starting as the note changes. And we've got a pass.
Yes.
Lucas de Grassi
goes by Oliver Turvey.
Turvey's trying to go back through turn. It's coming up to turn 8 now. Didn't do it.
Turvey trying to save a little bit of energy there, perhaps early in the race, and Lucas de Grassi pounced immediately. De Grassi can't allow Buemi to go away.
Going for it too.
Yeah, now as Oliver Turvey got a problem in that next EV Neo car because he's got Prost right behind.
They have said that they're really struggling with the energy efficiency in these conditions. Their car is not really designed, the powertrain and the setup they run on this car is not designed for this type of track. It's more designed for a more traditional, shorter, bumpier street course type Formula E track.
Working lap number 5, the order is Rosenqvist, Buemi, Lopez, Bird, Verne, de Grassi in 6th.
And there goes Prost past Oliver Turvey. So Oliver is clearly struggling a little bit.
That's for 8th. Then Mitch Evans, Jerome D'Ambrosio, and Nick Heidfeld is up from 20th to 12th in 5 laps.
Well, he's making yesterday's progress by Sébastien Buemi look positively glacial. I mean, Buemi was only passing 1 a lap.
Love to see the power figures to see how much. Oh, here we go. I'm asking you, there's a number.
Yeah, gained on the grid. Look at that. Heidfeld up 8.
So impressive.
Yeah.
I was concerned because he was running behind both of the Andretti cars. We chronicled the problems they've had this weekend, but it appears that Antonio Felix da Costa and Robin Frins let him by without much of a fight.
And we're on board with him. He's pushing pretty hard. He got a little catch of oversteer.
Let's take a look at what the lap speeds are like. Last lap round, Felix Rosenqvist, the race leader, 1 minute 11.79, and his teammate Nick Heidfeld, 1 minute 12.5, so not as quick.
We're talking about usable energy. We think about 4% a lap. He's used a little bit more. He's at 75%. The leader is at 77. So by the end of the stint, if they keep going on this level, Felix Rosenqvist should be able to do 1 more lap. But he's going to make progress. Otherwise, what's the point of just running around at the back all day? You might as well gamble.
No point coming in last with energy still to use. And that's the whole point of it, usable. You know, if you're racing a car with a gasoline engine, you want to run the tank dry just after you cross the finish line.
You know, if you're not in the top 10, there's no points anyway. No. You might as well go for it.
Well, behind him, Adam Carroll in the Jaguar I-Type has come from 19th on the grid up to 15th, so he's up 4 spots. Mitch Evans started 9th, he's in 10th at the moment, but I'm sure he's trying to put pressure on Oliver Turvey in 9th spot.
Adam Carroll's had a tough weekend. It's great to see him making some progress.
I think the Jaguar team as a whole, like Andretti, like Faraday Future Dragon Racing, have been struggling to find a setup that works. The heat, the abrasive nature of the track just caught everybody on hop. Caught Renault E-Dams on the hop yesterday, you know, largely. So,
but they've done a really good job recovering. You could see the second of the Andretti cars correcting oversteer. That's one of the complaints of the drivers, that the rear just wants to step out all the time. The rear of the car is just constantly sliding from the moment they touch the brakes, and they're really struggling to control that.
Felix Rosenqvist still leading. This is the battle for 3rd. Bird coming in deep behind Lopez.
Try to save some more energy.
Just want a little buffer.
Longer lifts, save a little bit more energy.
Longer lifts, less braking, so you give up some straight line speed and you make it up in corner entry and through mid-corner. It's a classic way of saving fuel, regardless of what that is, whether that's the battery power, whether that's diesel, whether that's petrol. View from Lopez, Sam Bird again still in close attendance, and Sam looks very comfortable. He made a mistake right here in qualifying, put his hand up and said, yeah, tried a bit hard, that was it, I lost it, I think I could have been on pole position. He's lifting early and coasting a lot into turn 9 though. That's what you got to do, 2 laps longer today, that's not easy to do.
Fully electric race cars produce a whole new world of sounds.
And they make a different sound through each phase, you know, when the motor is obviously when you're producing power, when you lift off and it's coasting, and then when it's regenerating, the sound changes, and you can
1902.
It makes a slightly different sound. That's Jose Maria Lopez talking to his engineers, giving him the number of energy used in that lap.
Yeah, plus tire squeal and the rattling of the differential,
and the locking when the rear shudder when they're on the edge of locking, which we do hear quite a lot as the guys come to the limit when they're trying to regen through the rear axle of the car, and they're on the limit of braking too, because that constantly moves depending on the battery temperature and all kinds of things that they have to work out.
And as you pointed out, all the advertising signs hanging on the fence rattling with the concussion of the air being pushed aside by these cars as they rocket past our commentary box.
There's yesterday's big points winner, Lucas de Grassi. The race winner, Felix Rosenqvist, moved up from 4th to joint 3rd in the championship, but at the head of the field, de Grassi halved effectively Sébastien Buemi's lead. He's got to make sure he's close to Buemi now. He's a bit in damage limitation.
There's a Nick Heidfeld update. He told Dario before the race he wanted to get into the points. He's 11th right now, 1 spot out of the points in 8 laps.
This is insane. You can't do that. You're in the same car effectively as everybody else. You've got the same usable energy. You're on the same racetrack. You're on the same tyres. What's he doing? How's he doing that?
He's doing a heck of a job, absolutely. Obviously, home race today, and he's absolutely making the most of it.
Now,
he definitely was. He was upset after qualified.
There are only 3 cars lapped in a 1:11 last time round. You want to have a guess which 3 they are? Race leader Felix Rosenqvist, second place man Sébastien Buemi. Oh yeah, and Nick Heidfeld as well. So he has got the pace of his teammate. He has got the pace. If he'd started in the top 5, he could be top 2 or 3 again.
And you see him just closing in on this pack, and he's going to make it. He's going to give us an afternoon of action, I feel.
Well, with that, it's time for us to announce the results of the Fan Boost competition. Thanks for all your votes for your favorite driver. It appears that Daniel Abt, one of 3 German drivers in today's race, will have that extra energy boost. His teammate, Lucas de Grassi, will also get the equivalent of about 40 horsepower. And Sébastien Buemi. All of those drivers are between 2nd and 7th place in the running order right now.
Looks to me that Nico Prost is eyeing up a move on Daniel Abt for 7th place. He's just getting close enough. It looks just the way he's positioning the car. It looks okay. I'm just starting to think about it.
And the man who could use that fan boost most of all is digging himself a little bit of a hole with his press-on driving. That's Nick Heidfeld. He's getting close already, 10 laps in, to maybe being almost a full lap shy on usable energy. There's Heidfeld. Now, if he can't pass it any further, if he has to save and save and save to get to the midpoint, then that's fine, because if he can attack, he sure knows how to defend as well.
Yeah, absolutely. But again, what else can he do?
Yeah, no,
this is his only option to have a go, and he's had to make up that ground. As I said, jokingly, it's a long walk, but it's very difficult to make up any time, and any time you really stretch to try and close the gap, you're going to use usable energy. Here's the heads-up display on the right. We've got all kinds of information, usable power. Watch the regen as he brakes.
Lower right corner.
And then you can see the throttle, the different angle. He's in 1st gear. He'll go back up to 2nd with this. No, he's not even going up. He's leaving it at 1st. And you hear the thunking of the transmission as it re-engages. There you go, 2nd gear. And he'll coast quite early here, but then he won't brake. Look how long he coasts, and look how late he's going to get on the brakes, if at all. Yeah, and then he's going to get off them as quickly as he can.
And all that time in the intermediate phase, between power on and brake pedal on, he's pulling the regen handle and trying to add more usable energy to his battery.
The hardest thing as well is normally you want to use the brakes to control the pitch of the car.
Working lap number 11. Race leader Felix Rosenqvist with a handy lead over Sébastien Buemi. And if there's one driver Sébastien Buemi wouldn't mind being beaten by today, it's probably Felix Rosenqvist. But look at the gap they've opened up over the rest of the field. Here comes Jose Maria Lopez in 3rd, Sam Bird, his teammate, in 4th.
And Lopez in 3rd with no more usable energy. In fact, if anything, a fraction less than the race-leading duo. And Heidfeld as well, he's done a little bit of saving as well. 51% down to 50%, but the leader only with 53%. So for all the progress, he's still maybe only half a lap in debt.
And again, the difference between the first 2 and what the other guys are doing, that's carrying that momentum when you're not using the energy. It's when you're off throttle, and you have to have a very positive car if the car turns really well, because otherwise you've got to stay on the brakes. Here, for instance, is stay on the brakes to get the front end of the car to turn, whereas if it's working well and the front is turning, you can make lap time and save energy.
What they're doing here is not just driving a race car between the walls, patting their stomach and rubbing their stomach and patting their head. They're also juggling chainsaws on a unicycle. There's so many things they have to deal with in these cars, all at the same time, not independently.
And that's when the engineer can really help to that relationship between the engineers. We're on board with Mitch Evans, P10, and coming up to turn 7 here.
And his mirrors right now are full of Nick Heidfeld.
Yeah, but Nick doesn't have the energy to really attack. And so it's going to come as a surprise. I think he'll launch from a long way back if he does make that move. Nick's, look how far back he is. He's not going to make a pass from there. Although Buemi, on a couple of occasions yesterday, sent it down the inside from about a mile back.
Yeah, he made a couple of passes from Potsdam, never mind from that far back. So he was certainly... But one of the advantages of the hairpin there is if you can get that overlap, they see it coming a long way back and they can't chop you off.
Nico Prost looks to me, he's in that mode though. He's close enough to Daniel Apple, he just hasn't made the move yet. And Maro Engel, after that first lap crash, we see Heidfeld making another place up.
Oh, and he gets the Jaguar. Does Mitch Evans down the inside?
Maro Engel, fastest lap. That was the point I was getting to before Heidfeld made yet another great pass. And next on his hit list, Oliver Turvey.
Well, now then, how far can he go? He's in the points now. There's the brains trust at Mahindra. He's in the points. Don't forget, he's still got to change into his second car, which will have exactly the same amount of usable energy as everybody else's if he changes on the same lap.
But he hasn't done a sort of parade lap in that car, so there's marginally more. Marginally. Yeah, it's not a lot.
So can he go short on the first stint and a lap longer on the second? That's going to be entertaining. He may have to if he can't save enough. But the way he got by Mitch Evans suggests that he will probably be able to hold the Jaguar off even while he's trying to recoup some of that lost energy.
Yeah, you would think so. One of the things they do when they're doing all this energy saving and it becomes more aggressive is it knocks you out of your rhythm. You've been driving the track a certain way and you've got to really change where you're going quickly, where you brake, where you carry speed, and the guys have got to adapt very, very quickly to that.
Through the E-motion tunnel, the air cannons go off. That means the leader is coming through. Rosenqvist and Buemi kind of in a race of their own right now. As you see the gap back to third place. Lopez, Bird, Verne, de Grassi, Abt right there. Prost, Turvey, and Heidfeld, the top 10.
Looking further down the queue than we're focusing on at the moment. Look in 10th place on the left-hand pylon. Nick Heidfeld just dropped under 40%. Further back, though, Antonio Felix da Costa, 44% more usable energy, so more petrol in the tank, effectively, than anybody apart from Loic Duval, who's last. And yet he still can't make progress. It's not all about what you've got, it's somehow still about how effective it is that you can use it, and he can't get the speed out of that Andretti car still.
No, I mean, that's been clear all weekend, and they have definitely struggled, and they haven't got the answers, and they'll be going back to HQ this week, and there'll be a lot of questions asked on where they need to improve, but they're not the only ones.
No, exactly right, and you know, this is a different track to any that we've been at this season, but there's no guarantee that maybe New York or maybe Montreal might replicate some of this effect, particularly with hot surface.
Yeah, this is the only one that's got a concrete surface, though, isn't it? When we say that, I haven't seen the New York track yet. Look how close Heidfeld was to that apex curve. It's just the marbles are starting to build, so the grip, when you get up in the curve, the closer you can get to the apex curve, the more grip there is. The problem is if you get too close, you bounce off the curb, or the inside wall, as the case may be, right there. And Nelson Piquet visited the wall on the left of Nick Heidfeld yesterday.
Heidfeld still in 10th place, not yet a lap in the hole to the race leader. So race leader Rosenqvist, the same car, 38% usable energy, Heidfeld 34.
So we're seeing Heidfeld now, and what he's doing, we'll talk about lift and coast, and it's not an efficiency run, but what he's got to do is he's got to lift on the straight, slow it down. He approaches the corner slower, so they don't brake as much, and they carry more speed in and through the apex. And you know, one of the masters of that in IndyCar is Scott Dixon, and we see the guys here do it very, very well. It's a skill that transfers into lots of different types of racing.
Well, it's a skill that Alain Prost used greatly in the turbocharged Formula One era to make his fuel and especially his tyres last longer than almost seemed humanly possible. New fastest lap, by the way, from Germany's Maro Engel. Now, we haven't really said his name very much because he went into the garage early on. Like Mitch Evans yesterday, they've obviously gone, right, we can't get this first car to work properly, so now your only chance is the point for the Visa fastest lap.
Mark, look at the difference, look at the gap between Lopez and Bird, and it's just grown. Sam got oversteer through 4 and 5. I wonder if he's starting to struggle with the rear tyres going off more than Lopez, and he's really starting to fight oversteer. You see Lopez in the slow-mo camera and watch him work. Not much oversteer there, really. Watch Sam behind him, see if he corrects the oversteer. And then through the right-hander was where I really saw Sam correct. There you go, bit of correction. And then watch as he turns right. You can see the correction coming. He's straightening up his hand, but he's caught him again. He's caught him in a half a lap.
Yeah, suddenly right behind Pachito. The car's the same, the chassis is the same, the powertrain unit between the two is the same, and so it's personal preference that makes the choice. Bird goes long around the outside. Lopez is still there. Do not hit your teammate. It's rule 1 of racing.
The golden rule. And Bird's lost a couple of places.
Yeah.
And you could hear Lopez was saving. He lifted and coasted, so Sam got back on the throttle. So Lopez got back on the throttle.
Yeah.
And we saw what happened. And that wasn't smart, boys.
Not only did Sam and Pachito almost end their races, but they allowed 2 cars ahead of Bird.
Sam's not going to be happy.
Yeah, good move, Pachito.
Yeah. There's some long faces.
Yeah. I think he may be a new subscriber to Sarcasm TV for us, Bob, there.
But even to close that gap now is going to cost energy that these guys can't afford, because again, because of the length of the race today, and we see Daniel Abt having a go at Sam, and Sam's day is going from bad to worse. And Nico Prost thinking, I'll have a bit of that, thank you very much.
Yeah, Prost is all over him like a rash, and then Oliver Turvey and Nick Heidfeld not far behind. And if Sam Bird's setup on the car is overheating his tyres, Dario, that's not going to get better anytime soon.
That's a good point. It's not, because then you start to spin the tyres more, and the tyres get warmer, and so they spin more, and so they get warmer. And Jean-Eric Vergne has just passed Lopez. Yep.
And so it may not just be Bird, it may be the setup on those 2 DS Virgin cars. They were very quick in qualifying, didn't quite hold it in Superpole.
And Evans just passed Heidfeld back.
Did he? Okay.
Yes, he just passed him in the background. So
and in fact,
there we
Heidfeld
go.
now under pressure from behind.
Yeah.
There he is in the red and white Mahindra.
Now, does that mean he's suddenly realised he's got to? There's nothing for free, and as Jackie Stewart says, there's nothing such as a free lunch.
Indeed.
And I think he's just discovering that.
No such thing as a free pass either in the FIA Formula E. And the Mahindra under real pressure from behind, but Jerome D'Ambrosio with the black nose Faraday Future car can't get by. Take a look again, Dario.
So you see the pace difference, and they both start accelerating, and then they get Pachito actually hits Sam and knocks him wide. That was not a good move by teammates. So Sam gets back to the coast, back on the throttle, coasts back, and they both start sort of racing each other in the corner. Pachito gets loose, hits the side of Sam, then they clash, and they're lucky there wasn't more damage than that. And if I was the boss, I would not be happy.
You saw how blue Sam Bird's tyres went from that blue paint. Chris Gordon ahead of the engineering there, and Alex Ty alongside him, DS Virgin boss.
Racing drivers, can't control them.
No. And now, threatening are those 2 Abt Schaeffler cars, both of whom, of course, have got fan boost once they get into their second car. That's an extra little shot of usable energy that you can use to push the power up to 200 kilowatts for part of the race. A short burst push to pass, if you like.
Yeah, and Grassi looks like he's just setting up, and Lopez as well. So is it a setup issue, or is it a battery temperature issue, or is it they're struggling to save enough energy? The energy figures do not look that bad, so maybe it's a battery temperature issue on the DS Virgin cars. There we go. There's the pass into turn 9. Lovely.
And again, the hairpin there. If you get alongside, it's undefendable, Dario.
It is absolutely, but these guys, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, are 9 seconds, in fact 10 seconds behind the leader, 9 seconds behind 2nd place. And that just shows what a fantastic job Felix Rosenqvist and Sébastien Buemi are doing. Buemi 1.3 seconds back.
SOC, same as Vergne.
He's in striking distance still, though. He's not letting him run away.
And
Daniel Abt.
And they haven't got any less usable energy than anybody, down to Lopez. Lopez has got less usable energy, loses another spot. Daniel Abt goes by him for 5th position, Pachito down to 6th.
I thought Pachito was going to give him a little tap in the middle of one, just to let him know he was back with him.
No, only his teammate, apparently.
Yeah, so 3 laps to go until the pit stops, maybe 4.
Well, possibly, yeah. I mean, we're now on lap 20 of 46. You divide it in half to 23. We saw one of the Andretti cars do 24 laps yesterday. Jev didn't look entirely convinced when Nicky said, yeah, you can do 24. Well, maybe the Andretti cars could.
If you save anything just now, it's not, okay, you can say, well, what's the point of saving half a lap of energy because you can't go another lap? But then you can push like mad on that in-lap. And that, as we saw yesterday, can make the difference between 1st and 2nd.
Well, right now, Felix Rosenqvist with that 1.2 second advantage over Sébastien Buemi. They either have a superior race plan or they're going to be in big trouble at some point. as the gap back to third place, Jean-Eric Vergne, is now 9.6 seconds. Then de Grassi, Abt, Lopez, Prost, Bird, Turvey, and Evans. Nick Heidfeld has slumped out of the points-paying positions, the top 10. He is now 12th behind Jerome D'Ambrosio.
Nevertheless, from 20th on the grid, you take that at the midway point. He's only 2 from the points. If he can stay the distance, get to that halfway spot and not be in a hole energy-wise on the second part of the race, then he's got the potential to move up again. Of course, he's on the tail of that big midfield battle that we're looking at here, with the blue car of Prost between Lopez in front in the purple and Bird behind him.
The question is, if Bird gets back to his teammate, does he repay the favour, or does he wait till later and have a bit of an argument in the garage?
I think discretion might be the better part of valor there.
Is he going to have a go? I thought he'd had a little look down the inside into turn 9. There's a
was almost going to say that the first thing that Rosenqvist needs to make sure is that Buemi can't close enough to tuck him up like a kipper on the in-lap, the same as he did to Lucas de Grassi yesterday, to take a lead that he ended up never surrendering. So the Swedes very much aware of that.
Watch his head though, as he drove down the straight. Rosenqvist was looking in the mirrors left, looking in the mirrors right, just checking that gap. He doesn't want to be caught by surprise. As you say, Martin, it definitely caught Lucas de Grassi by surprise yesterday when Felix Rosenqvist went past.
Now, this is lap 22 of 46. We guesstimate, don't we? We expect that much of the field will come in after 23 laps, because that's the halfway point of what is going to be the longest Formula E race in its history so far.
We're going to be close to an hour, and the rule is an hour plus a lap. And if there's a safety car, yeah, we're going to have a...
Where's Nick Heidfeld? Down to 13th place now. Antonio Felix da Costa has moved by him. Hopefully this is not a repeat of the problem he had earlier. He's got 7% usable energy, same as Buemi.
He's brought it back to sort of parity with the guys around him and the guys ahead of him. So maybe he had to do that to make the next lap. Oh, Lucas de Grassi locking up. Is that because the regeneration demands are different and the brake balance has shifted? It looks like it, and it cost him out a little bit there.
I was going to suggest maybe Renault E-Dams were splitting their strategies. Have Sebastian Buemi blast out front, running like a rabbit with Felix Rosenqvist, while Nico Prost stayed further back. But yet they're at the same point in terms of usable energy, so I guess not. They're just running the best race they can. Exactly,
and sorry to say this to Nico Prost, but it shows that Buemi is doing a better job and just managing the energy, carrying the speed while using less battery power.
Well, from the first 6 races of the year, he won 5, so that's this just in. We knew that Buemi was quite good this season. He's really got on top of that car. Here's the Abt-Schaeffler battle, and that's Lucas de Grassi 4th, Daniel Abt 5th. Behind them, Lopez, Prost and Bird is all over the back of the Frenchman in that blue Renault E-Dams car in what might well be their in-lap.
We saw last year Daniel Abt finished 2nd, Lucas de Grassi 3rd. That made the difference in the actual final championship outcome. There was no sort of team orders. He didn't move his side when maybe he was asked to, though. But I don't see him doing a big crazy move on his teammate Lucas de Grassi at the moment.
Okay, in we go.
Pit lane.
Yeah, it's a long stretch for these cars to make the 23 laps, and the leaders are not going to gamble on trying to make another one. They've got 1 or 2% usable energy left. The whole field is likely to come in now.
Yeah, it's all coming. They've got to all come in.
Now, this is an issue when you've got 2 cars nose to tail. For Mahindra, 1 car comes in, chances are Rosenqvist will be released before his teammates even got to the pit lane, and Jean-Eric Vergne needs a clean release. He got a penalty, cost him a good race yesterday, good race result.
Yeah, absolutely, but the good news for him today is everybody else should be in the pit lane by the time he's leaving. Hopefully there should be no overlap.
He knows the arrow taped on the floor to direct the driver into a position out of the way of his second car.
Buemi's ready to go. He's closest to the outside. The Mahindras trip over each other. Exactly what Rosenqvist didn't need, but he's still in front of Buemi. Buemi can't be released across his bows. So somehow, now the penalty. If Jean-Eric Vergne got a penalty for an unsafe release yesterday, then absolutely Rosenqvist must get one. Whether it was his teammate or not, there was almost a pit lane collision. And that's really bad news for Rosenqvist and Heidfeld.
Bad planning for the Mahindra guys. That shouldn't happen. That should be thought of. You've got to think about all these eventualities, and that quite frankly, that sucks. That sucks for the team. That's really a shame.
That's really a really big shame. Almost everybody in. Antonio Felix da Costa not. Grassi still going round, and PK still going round.
Sam Bird had a bad pit stop yesterday. We had a good one today. He's ahead of Nico Prost now. He's up to 7th. He's behind his teammate Lopez.
Not ahead of Lopez. Yes, there we go.
And I'm sure he's not having kind thoughts at the moment after what happened earlier.
Joanna Ruz there. Wonder what he's typing on the laptop. Is that a race control to team message?
Could be.
Please don't penalise us. It is tough, you know, when you're in the tent, the Lollipop man has a very restricted view.
Well, they should. In that case, they should move them further out in pit lane so they can see what's going on. It's that's the job, and it's a hard job, but should be allowed to happen. And Rosenqvist is headed off down the road a little bit. He's 2.2 seconds up the road from Sebastian Buemi now.
Not sure that's quite where Lucas de Grassi was hoping it was going to be. Here we go.
Completely unsafe. You're right, it's an unsafe release. I hate to do that, but Nick Heidfeld, and then it's sort of that backing up and they're getting in each other's way.
Right, that Heidfeld almost ended up in another team's tent.
See it right here, look at that. I mean, that's just silly.
Missed it entirely.
Yeah, really bad planning, really bad. And Nick Heidfeld could have done something a lot worse, and that was him sort of getting out of the way, realising it was his teammate, and not causing a collision in pit lane.
Well, you know, a 0-to-hero drive from Nick Heidfeld and a chance of a double race weekend win, I think, have both gone away there with that tiny. There was a little bit of hesitation from the Lollipop man. He went, no, yes, no.
Here's a reaction. Yeah, we don't know what the stewards will decide, but doesn't look good.
Well, if it's the same 5-second penalty that Jean-Eric Vergne got in yesterday's race, then Rosenqvist is going to have to pull away just a bit. There he goes. No sign of an investigation yet from the steward's office, but it's Rosenqvist over Buemi at just under 1.5 seconds.
Mitch Evans has clearly had a problem. He's P18 now in the Jaguar, quite a ways back from Adam Carroll. So what's happened there?
He's 12 seconds behind Adam Carroll. That's a third of a lap.
We didn't see that. We didn't see that. He was running just outside the top 10, and then the next thing.
Vergne, de Grassi, and Abt, the 2 Team Abt cars. Then Lopez and Bird, the 2 DS Virgin cars. Nico Prost right there in the blue of Renault E-Dams. Oliver Turvey. And the next EV, Neo, and Jerome D'Ambrosio in the first of the Faraday Future Dragon racing machines.
Well, we spent the entire race on tenterhooks yesterday, seeing what would happen with Felix Rosenqvist in the race lead, whether he'd be able to claim victory, what would happen with Sebastian Buemi coming up through the field, whether he'd be able to limit the damage done by Lucas de Grassi, who ended up being in 2nd place. Buemi's got the boot on the other foot slightly. He's ahead of de Grassi, and he might actually now have a chance of picking up victory, because the stewards have confirmed they will look at the incident between Rosenqvist and teammate Heidfeld.
And yeah, that's, as you say, de Grassi, there's nothing he can do about it, and Buemi is definitely in the catbird seat.
Target, 17 centièmes de marge.
I think that was another Americanism, sorry boys.
Yeah. Well, Buemi in 2nd place, de Grassi in 4th. That could be 1st and 3rd, so it's not going to give de Grassi much of a closing room, but he's only 2 cars behind. So what he needs to do is unshackle himself of the bottle stopper that is Jean-Eric Vergne in 3rd now, and get his head down and get after Sebastian Buemi, no matter what else he does.
Tim Schenken is the steward this weekend, and he is not shy in making a decision. He's definitely a man that gets his job done, and no matter who he upsets.
I'm curious about Nick Heidfeld, shown 12th there in the running order. Timing clock for the pit stop begins when they cross the timing line at the entry to pit lane. Even with all the fall-for-all and nearly colliding with his teammate, he was able to finally get pushed into the garage, make the change, and get out. And I think he actually picked up a position.
Yeah, you just make a shorter pit stop. Yeah. When it's a minimum pit stop time, you can just make a shorter pit stop. No harm, no foul. P12 at the moment. Yeah. He's 2.8 seconds behind Jerome D'Ambrosio, who's under investigation too for under minimum pit stop time. Yeah. It's all happening.
D'Ambrosio may end up with a penalty, and that will drop him out of the top 10. There you see confirmation from race control. And generally, if they're investigating you, it means it's pinged up on their data as you were under. So it's now going back to Tim Schenken and the stewards.
It's generally done automatically, isn't it? It's not a sort of a judgment call. Nick Heidfeld at this point has more usable power than the sort of usable energy than the leader.
Time reminder, Bob, that nobody has yet used their fan boost. All 3 fan boost available cars are in the top 5.
Don't you know Sebastian Buemi is just keeping his powder dry right now? Close behind Felix Rosenqvist, waiting for the decision of the stewards, and he has the fan boost.
Yeah, I think what you saw there was Dilbag Gill saying, tell Felix to make a gap to third place, or to make a gap to even second place, tell him to get after it, which is easier said than done without running yourself out of energy. And it looked like Jean-Paul Driot and the Renault was saying, why is he still out there?
Yeah, how come they haven't penalised us? They penalised us for not running legal tyre pressures.
So you hear this, he's lifting and coasting, but he's going to get off the brakes and run into the corner, try and close that gap down to Felix Rosenqvist, who's trying to have exactly the opposite effect. He wants to get clear, get away from Sébastien Buemi and Jean-Eric Vergne, so even if he does have a 5-second penalty, he's still on the podium at this point. Damage limitation, that's what he's trying to do. You see the heads up, you see how early he's going to lift into turn 6, but how gently he's going to brake into turn 7. Sorry, braking for turn 6.
Right now, you're sitting at home going, okay, I'm Sébastien Buemi, there's the race leader, I've got fan boost, why don't I just go buy him?
Because it uses energy.
But that's free. The fan boost is free energy that few of the other rivals will have.
He wants to wait, and he wants to use it at the right point.
Right, where he is right now, he doesn't need it.
Why risk it at this point? He's 29 laps and 46, 18 to go. Let's just see how things settle down. He's in a position. He's in the right position, and with Felix possibly getting a penalty, why risk a possible overtaking maneuver that could take you both out of the race?
16 laps into this part of the race, 17 remaining, so we're kind of 3/4 distance, and they're still all on energy. I mean, this is what the teams, the engineers, Bob, will be really keen on, is making sure they don't dig a hole that they can't get out of.
And yet these two continue to gap the rest of the field. Buemi now 8.9 seconds. He picked up another couple of tenths of a second gap over third place, Jean-Eric Vergne.
Fastest lap of Nick Heidfeld's race on the last time round. So has he given up? Has he? No. Not even remotely. Jean-Eric Vergne lies third, de Grassi fourth, the first, the green and
de Grassi setting him up here. Look at this, he's got to time this bit, he's time this next corner to see if he can get a run through the right-hander and make the move down into turn 9. Oh, Jeff goes defensive. Bit naughty there.
He went defensive early on. Well, in IndyCar, if you don't make a move under braking, it's not blocking.
But that was on the line, I would say. Oh, that was close.
Saw a couple of those from Nico Prox yesterday, didn't we? Where the guy in front is lifting and coasting way earlier.
Overconsume to defend.
Something about over-consuming to defend.
Yeah. Do not overconsume.
Is that what he said?
I think, yeah.
Yeah. Because if you run out of energy, it doesn't matter how hard you defend, you're not finishing the race.
Yeah.
All right.
Line and length. Position the car, Jeff.
Here's the bed. The Grassi's going to have yet another go. He's probably going to try and set up that exact same pass because he knows that Jeff's got to lift and coast at the right point. He's a little bit behind here, but watch how if he's going to make the move, he'll close up on the brake and into turn 6. Rather than get on the brakes, he's just going to try and close it up a little bit. Yeah, there we go. He's looking good. Look how white Jean-Eric is. If he starts the gap closing now, nah, I don't think he's going for it. No. This lap, no.
Well, Daniel Abt right there behind his teammate to protect Lucas de Grassi in case Jose Maria Lopez, who's almost 3 seconds behind, gets anywhere close.
Actually, what he's hoping to do is...
Buemi's just activated fan boost. Is he going?
Well, have they been told that there's no penalty coming? Surely he's going to want to keep that to defend in case anybody gets close.
That was kind of a...
Or is he just making sure he doesn't get 5 seconds away? I mean, he's down now to 38 hundredths of a second at the line.
Pretty inefficient use of fan boost. And there's de Grassi again. Look how loose Jean-Eric got. And he's got a
gets in really deep.
What a move.
Abt wasn't close enough to do what he wanted to do, which was slip through the open gap as well.
That was what we talked about all weekend with that turn 1. If that happened, and it was textbook. He forced Lucas de Grassi, forced Jean-Eric Vergne into a mistake, and Daniel Abt is now thinking, right, I'm going to have you too.
And what have we seen with Verne's car all the way through? The longer he runs, the looser it gets at the back.
Here we go. Wow. Defensive from Jean-Eric. Lucas comes in. Now this is what. Look at Jean-Eric Vergne. He's offline. He's oversteering, and he can't make the corner. That was a really sweet pass from Lucas de Grassi.
That was the sucker punch.
Watch as Jean-Eric Vergne tries to brake. Look at it. No, it's not going to happen. Just perfect. And then he gets on the dirty part of the track, and it's all gone from there.
Well, Sandberg cleaned it up a little bit with the Chico Lopez, but not enough.
Clearly not enough.
You might have heard the roar from the grandstand. A lot of the Schaeffler employees have come to the race both yesterday and today to cheer on their men from the Audi Schaeffler.
It's on fan boost, so guess who he's having a go at? He's going to have a go at Jean-Eric Vergne right now.
There they are.
Around the outside, Vergne's going to fight it, contact.
Daniel tried to squeeze in there. That was not the smart move because Jean-Eric doesn't have to give you that position.
Yes. Yeah. At that point, it's a long way round the outside there. Back around the outside and back around the outside.
And they've got the same amount of usable energy right now. All the cars battling there, 60%. We've got 14 laps to go, or 13 and a half at this point.
Last 2 laps from Nick Heidfeld in the other Mahindra car, by the way, have brought him within a second of Antonio Felix da Costa in 11. They've been his 2 consecutive fastest race laps from Heidfeld, so Heidfeld's still pushing hard.
You see, look, watch Daniel Abt tried to squeeze him, and John Eric's like, yeah, I don't think so, sorry mate. And Daniel Abt's out on the dirt.
On board Jean-Eric Vergne's car. Here comes Daniel Abt on the outside.
Look at him blocking, yeah.
That was a gentle nudge. These guys are just trying like crazy to give us a full course yellow.
Now, again, you heard quite clearly, he came off the throttle, went back on it. Penalty has been awarded to Felix Rosenqvist, a 10-second penalty for unsafe release.
Now, why 10? Because do they sort of rank it in terms of how much avoiding action the car had to take? Because I think an unsafe release is an unsafe release. And so
one contact between the cars, perhaps?
In Argentina, there was no penalty for 1, then there was a 5, and now there's a 10. So I don't know. It just anyway, he's still 11 seconds up the road from 3rd place, Lucas de Grassi.
Yeah. So Buemi now knows that he is leading this Berlin E-Prix and does not need to pass unless people get close. There's Nick Heidfeld, right behind him, Robin
da Costa, he's just passed da Costa.
Just past da Costa.
Just past da Costa. Right. Here we go, he's got to make a couple. D'Ambrosio next again if he wants to get back into the points. Bit of a gap though.
Robin Prince and Adam Carroll hard at it as well. This is for 16th and 17th. Maro Engel back out of the pits.
Drive-through penalty for D'Ambrosio for minimum pit stop time.
Jerome D'Ambrosio out of the top 10, out of Nick Heidfeld's way. Heidfeld goes from 11th to 10th
so he's in the points
as the car in front heads into the pit lane. There is Nico Prost in 8th place, Oliver Turvey behind him. So that will be Nick Heidfeld's next target again. Our race leader is still Felix Rosenqvist on the road, but with a 10-second penalty, Sébastien Buemi leads.
And notice those gaps. That 10-second time penalty, if administered right now, would drop Felix Rosenqvist from 1st to 2nd.
De Grassi has not used his fan boost. Abt has, and so too has Buemi. De Grassi might need to use it on the last lap to gain a second and get ahead of Rosenqvist in time rather than actually on the road.
De Grassi realises, I'm sure they've told him, right, you're fighting for P2 now. But
De Grassi's last lap, 1:12.0, a 1:12.1 for Rosenqvist, so he's closing by a 10th a lap. Is that enough? No, not at the moment, but he's got fan boost on his side.
Saw Loic Duval moving slowly in one of the Dragon racing cars there on the front straight.
Duval spent quite a lot of time in the pits.
Down,
He's only done 27 laps.
I think he's let the faster cars, the guys on the lead lap, just go through. I hope so anyway.
Trying to merge on a busy highway.
A good man, that's just good etiquette, just getting out of the way.
Why is he out there? He's not going to score any points, but they're in a hole. They don't know what's wrong with their car. They may well have tried something, go right, go out, give it a run. Let's just throw something at it, anything, almost.
They've got to figure it out, don't they?
Yeah. There's Prost in the blue car, tail of this queue. Sam Bird right in front of him. Jose Maria Lopez is ahead of Bird, his DS Virgin teammate, by a second, enough to keep Bird out of lunging range. Possibly.
Possibly. That's the key word.
It's been a pretty wretched weekend in terms of performance for Faraday Future Dragon Racing. Lloyd Duval circulating on a test mission, and a drive-through penalty for Jerome D'Ambrosio will take him out of the points.
And Nico Prost starting to fight with the rear end of that Renault E-Dams car. Rear tyres they're probably getting a little warm, and we're seeing the result again out of turn 10, just fighting to put the power down. And as you said earlier, that problem is not going to get better at this point.
Renault tyres like going in a straight line. They're very, very good at that. They're not very good at being pushed sideways across the road. That's really their least favourite thing. And the more you do it, the more they overheat. The more they overheat, the more they do it.
Well, they don't like to do two things at once. That's a given.
Well, we're all the same there. Jean-Eric Verne is the stopper in the bottle again, isn't he, in this Techeetah, which is losing its edge as the race progresses. Jose Maria Lopez is closing in. Now, Verne, we know, doesn't mind getting his elbows out in defence. Where's Techeetah going to go?
Well, if he's going to do something, it's going to happen in 2 corners' time, and he wants to be setting it up right now, like we've talked about, through this next left-right king to be in position, and it doesn't look like he's quite in position yet to be quite close enough. Borderline, and Jev will definitely defend. Yeah. There's no doubt, we've seen that. He's not shy about defending, and as you say, getting his elbows out.
You're gonna have to sell him a dummy, aren't you? Because he's, you know, if you just let him go where he wants to go, you're going to have to force him offline to defend somewhere odd, and then try and capitalise on that.
Or catch him by surprise.
If there was one that was going to go pear-shaped, it might be that one.
1-0-8-2, 1-0-8-2.
So defending again, taking that a short way. Yeah, absolutely.
2 tough customers, as we've already seen in this race.
Yeah, he's done a lot of touring car racing as Lopez, so he knows how to rub a little bit, shall we say.
Inside the final 10 in the Birmingham E-Prix, round 8 of the FIA Formula E Championship. Season 3 into the fast run to the line. Felix Rosenqvist leads on the road, but with a 10-second penalty, he remains in second ahead of Lucas de Grassi. Sébastien Buemi in the Renault E-Dams car, second on the road. Looks like he's going to take victory. Interest here is Jean-Eric Verne in the black and gold car in 5th position, with Lopez, Bird and Prost following in hot pursuit.
Yet again, goes defensive. The other battle is not actually a battle on the track, but it's a battle against the stopwatch. Lucas de Grassi, Felix Rosenqvist, 10.9 seconds difference between them right now. And there's Rosenqvist has to serve a 10-second penalty, so it's all shaping up nicely for a battle there. They're going to keep pushing, both of them. They've both got the same usable energy. Going to keep pushing to the flag, and it's a battle over second place.
Jean-Eric Verne in the black and gold Techeetah is doing a very good job of taking the pressure off Daniel Abt in
Lopez to the
place.
outside. No, that's not the smart move.
He's already shut the door a couple of times on the outside there. So Jev is not going to be allowing people to drive around the outside.
Yeah, and Bird got very close. If that door gets open, I think Sam Bird is going to go back down and repay the favour that his teammate paid him a bit earlier this afternoon.
And you see, there's the danger for Techeetah. When you're in this queue, if you miscue an attack, you leave the door open for attack from behind, and whether it's your teammate or not, they're still going to try and get by.
Alejandro Agag, Series CEO, watching from the Renault E-Dams pit.
Bird's close.
Wondering how many laps ago Jerome D'Ambrosio was awarded that drive-through penalty. He's now moved ahead of Oliver Turvey for 9th, but aren't you supposed to do it within a certain period of that penalty being applied?
Yes, you
or
are.
Risk exclusion. However, Nick Heidfeld is dropping away a little from that battle. He's now down to 3.2 seconds away from 10th place.
What I'm seeing is Lopez, for instance, the car is now sliding across the surface of the track, whereas before it would dig in, it would grip both ends of the track. It's sliding across the surface, which means that they've lost the tyres, and I'm sure nobody's feeling particularly good about the way the cars are handling at this point, but Lopez is definitely struggling, and you can see how much Verne is holding him up. So how good does Verne's car feel at this point? This is where Verne made his mistake in qualifying, going into turn 4, locked up and cost himself a lot of time.
The back of that black and gold Techeetah car looks much more tied down than it has done at any stage during today. I mean, especially in some of the free practices, he was backing it in like a MotoGP rider.
But he is slow. So what is causing the problem? Is he just overslowing the corner to counteract that oversteer? And Lopez is close, but I don't want to be close here. I want to be close exiting this next right-hander to set. And he's doing it. Here we go. He's going to have a go.
right around the outside.
Have some of that.
Proper block pass there as well. That was a good move.
Yeah, it can be, but if the guy behind you, the guy who just passed, misses his braking point, he's going to take you both out. So that is a very risky pass, but it worked. And now watch Lopez. Is he going to drive away?
Well, Sam Bird now has to try and produce exactly the same move. Tito's race engineer Thomas Gomis, who was with him
713.
through all the Citroën World Touring Car Championship years. 3 straight FIA World Touring Car Championship titles. Here's Jerome D'Ambrosio taking that drive through, and that then puts Heidfeld into 10th position. Back up into the points. His beer money is safe, still on the desk, waiting to buy him a beer.
You're going to buy him a beer?
I'm going to buy him a beer if I see him in a bar. I definitely think he'll deserve it.
Look at Lopez stretching that lead out, and Sam Bird is thinking, I've got to get by this next couple of corners, which is going to keep holding me up. Coming up 6 laps to go, coming up to 5 to go. Got to get through, otherwise your teammate's going to get away. Sam's setting up the pass, but Vern's going to go defensive again. Yeah, nothing doing.
Yeah, Sam's going to have to try somewhere else, and the somewhere else then probably means turn 1, doesn't it?
The danger is you slow down to the guy in front of you's pace. When you catch him, you've got to try and make a move if it's available. Sam knows that. He knows what he's got to do here, and he's just trying to figure out how to do it with Vern being as defensive as he actually is being.
Great view from our cable cam.
Look at Vernon looking in the mirror all the way down. He's got his head looking at the apex, looking in the mirror, looking at the apex, looking at the left-hand mirror as he comes down into turn 1.
It's like a batsman watching a bowler. He's like a batter watching a pitcher, you know? If you
I'll take your word for that.
Don't see it.
I was in the bottom, whatever it was, 8 for cricket, and I played cricket at Goodwood once, but I was an outfielder.
If you're in the bottom 8, then you really didn't play cricket. They normally have 11.
That's probably why. I think there's only 8 left.
Jean-Eric Verne hanging on to 6th position. Lucas de Grassi, by the way, 12.9 seconds behind the race leader Felix Rosenqvist, or the leader on the road, Felix Rosenqvist, who's going to have a 10-second penalty applied. So de Grassi will not move up. Buemi at the moment will take 25 points. Rosenqvist 18, 15 for de Grassi and Bird.
Sam, he should have kept it in there. That was the move. Easy for me to say watching, but he's going to have to wait another. Well, he might do it into 1, but Verne is so... Look at Verne again in the mirrors, looking in the mirrors.
3 to go after this.
He's on the power so much earlier, and he's getting held up so much by Jean-Eric.
And look how far Lopez has got away. 2 seconds, almost 3 seconds clear now. In fact,
And outside is not the place to make the pass. Unless you're going to give him a little bump right there, which is probably not allowed.
Laps to go. There is Felix Rosenqvist. His effort to become the first driver to sweep a weekend of double race victories has come apart during his pit stop. They'll have that 10-second grid penalty. That man, Sébastien Buemi, who we talked about at the top of the show, is looking for redemption. Will get it with the race win. And this is the battle as Jean-Eric Verne tries to keep Sam Bird behind him, 6th and 7th.
It's the same move. Sam's still looking to the outside. I think he's going to have to
do the over-under here.
He's going to have to risk a bit and go down the inside and keep it down there, even when he's getting squeezed. Because if he's on the inside and he gets squeezed, then he's not at fault. But I guess it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if bits are missing off the car.
Jeb's wide. Yeah, if the bits are missing, it doesn't matter whose fault it is. You're both out of the race.
Yeah, and at the moment, points for 7th is better than no points at all, and handing 6th position to Nico Prost.
Yeah, but he's a racing driver. And he wants to get past him. He's been sitting looking at the back end of, of that car, that the Cheetah car is just sitting there, and he wants to get through. And obviously his teammate has already had a bit of an issue with him today, so the blood's up, the blood's boiling, 3 laps to go.
Teammates hoofed him off, which is why he's stuck back here rather than up in challenging for the top 3, maybe with Daniel Abt and Lucas de Grassi.
Yeah, hats off to Daniel Abt, P4. He's quietly gone about his job today. We haven't even seen him.
And again, Sébastien Buemi stays within 2 seconds of Felix Rosenqvist, the Mahindra driver in front on the road. Really harsh as well. He didn't decide to go. The team allowed him out into the pit lane, into the path of his own teammate, and so he ends up paying a really harsh penalty. If it had only been 5 seconds, he still wouldn't be the race winner. He'd still be behind Sébastien Buemi, who's only 1.6
But
behind.
again, you win and you lose as a team. It's the same team that gave him a fantastic car to allow him to win yesterday, qualify pole today, and lead this race. And there was just a mistake made, and it's a human sport. And trust me, the drivers make mistakes. I know I've made enough of them.
Yesterday's race would be over by now, and we're into uncharted territory. With 2 laps to go.
2 laps to go, 10 seconds, 10% of usable energy for Felix Rosenqvist, Sébastien Buemi and the rest, and that's just about what we need.
Just about what we need, but if I'm Jean-Eric Vergne, as I get closer to the end of this race, I'm going to get more robust in my defence, so it's even harder for Sam Bird to make that pass.
And Vergne, let's see where Vergne goes to 9%. Bird goes to 9% first. Grassi, Buemi rather, still trying to close on Rosenqvist, and there's a slower car in front.
Did you see though how much through that corner that Felix Rosenqvist just slid the car, beautifully slid through that chicane. He's absolutely on the limit, and he said yesterday, Lucas de Grassi, yeah, he's not hanging about. Daniel Abt behind him, but Rosenqvist said, I enjoyed every lap of it. And you can see he's just driving the car with such, verve.
And you have to enjoy it to get the best out of yourself and get the best out of the car.
Last lap, number 46. I'll be interested to hear what the Mahindra team says about that release, because when the Techeetah team did it yesterday, we decided it was because they were down at the end of the pit lane and might not have been able to see oncoming traffic. Mahindra, a couple of pit spots away, don't have that rationale. So it'll be interesting to hear why the team looked so shocked when Nick Heidfeld suddenly arrived.
Well, half a lap to go for Felix Rosenqvist. He's got enough energy to get to the line, but a 10-second penalty weighing him down, and that means although he will be first at the checker, it is Sébastien Buemi who's in second place who will get the points.
And he hasn't put a wheel wrong all day. All weekend he has not put a wheel wrong. Actually, in qualifying for race 1 he bounced it off that curb, but that is it. Otherwise, fabulous race.
And keep in mind, once again, those two absolutely separated themselves from the rest of the runners. And yet
massively.
here they are with sufficient power to get to the end.
You nailed the race. I have to tell you, congratulations, you nailed the race. You won from P1 till the end. I'm so sorry for the penalty. We got a 10 seconds penalty because the unsafe release. De Grassi is crossing the finish line 12 seconds behind you. So you are P2, but anyway, unbelievable, amazing drive for you.
Oh, and look at that last corner. Prost having a tilt at Sam Bird, doesn't quite get there. Now, we didn't see whether Bird had just had a lunge at Jean-Eric Vergne that was repulsed. And yeah, as you said, Dario, you win as a team, you lose as a team. Yesterday, Mahindra claimed their first ever FIA Formula E win. Today, they were within an ace of doing it again. And unfortunately, pit stop problem means that victory does go to Sébastien Buemi.